I'm curious, who looks worse to you now? Is it the coach and Joe Mazulla or in the stars and Tatum and Brown?
Oh, Molly, it's definitely Joe Mazulla. And for him to go up there in his post-game interview and say, I didn't have those guys ready, I got to figure it out, well, that's a damn shame. And I knew that he made the wrong choice when we got the report before the game started, that he was starting Derek White and bringing Robert Williams off the bench. That is a huge problem to me. Your best player in Jayson Tatum has come out time and time again publicly telling you, if we're going to win a championship, this is the most important piece of this team outside of me and Jaylen Brown is Robert Williams. But you keep on harping on starting a 36-year-old Al Horford because all you want to do is worry about the offensive end and stretching the floor and having guys play AAU-style basketball so that way y'all can live by the three and die by the three. No, you supposed to start Robert Williams. He does so much for you on both ends of the floor. We already know what he's going to bring defensively. Elite shot blocking, being able to guard the pick and roll, being able to get out there and switch out on guards and wings if he have to. Offensively, when Jayson Tatum had 51 in Game 7, a lot of that came off the back of Robert Williams. Because he's so much of a dynamic roller, because he's a lob threat at the basket and guys have to pay attention to him, because he plays the dunker spot so well, it allows those guys to be able to operate and be the best version of themselves. So I'm looking at Joe Mazulla and I'm sitting up here saying, well, damn, the Celtics' identity all last year was defense. But you made an adjustment to go offensively by inserting Derek White and putting Robert Williams on the bench. So I'm looking at Joe Mazulla on this one.
Got to disagree with you there. I'm not disagreeing with your points about Joe Mazulla, and it is a problem, and it is something that we will get into as this show progresses today. Kendrick Perkins, and I hope you had a nice weekend, by the way, my brother. But I got to tell you something right now. I sincerely doubt that you had a nice weekend after watching that atrocity last night because you are a prideful champion representing the Boston Celtics franchise, even though obviously you're an analyst for this network. And there's no way in hell you could tell me that you got any enjoyment, even though you did forewarn all of us, that especially me, that Boston did not want to see Miami. I don't give a damn what you say. You didn't expect this. Not what we saw. I would remind you that last night as we watched Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, we watched Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown combine to shoot 12 of 35 from the field, 1 of 14 from three-point range, 6 turnovers, okay, in that process, more turnovers than assists. In this series, they're shooting 7 for 40 from three-point range, the two of them. 7 for 40. That is 17%. And they have more turnovers than assists. That is atrocious. And I love me some Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And I believe both are stars. And it's hard to imagine how you can transfer from dropping 51 in a closeout Game 7 against the Philadelphia 76ers to this mess that we've witnessed in this series. It's an indictment against the Philadelphia 76ers, no doubt about it. It's an indictment against Embiid and Harden, okay, which is something we'll get into another time. But it is now, you look at giving credit to the Miami Heat, and of course they deserve it. But on their worst day, meaning Boston's worst day, I never expected this for Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown to look helpless. We haven't seen that. We've seen them defeated. We've seen them beat. We haven't seen them look helpless. And more importantly, I don't think there has ever been a time where I've seen the Boston Celtics and I felt they got their hearts snatched out their chest. The only thing that I can think of in my years of watching the NBA where I've seen something tantamount to this. If you remember Kendrick Perkins, I think it was I'm trying to remember which year it was. But the Lakers ran the San Antonio Spurs out of California. Mm-hmm. And Tim Duncan sat there depressed, looking like he was crying. And Popovich was sitting next to him, tapping him on his knee. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. And you saw Jack Nicholson And he was sitting there, the famed Laker fan, who was great to see him at the arena the other day, by the way. And he was literally looking into the camera. Take their heart. Take their heart. That is the only thing that I've seen in my years of covering the NBA that was the equivalent of yesterday. Yesterday, the Boston Celtics got punked. They got their heart snatched out of their chest. They looked beaten. It's so bad. I don't even know why we should have a game 4. Yesterday was one of those moments where I think a mercy rule should have been invoked in the NBA, and we should have just stopped playing after they were up 93-63 at the end of the third quarter. It was that embarrassing. There's nothing else I can really say about that. I think it's Tatum and Brown.
So you know I always hit you and Molly with a saying every now and then, but I didn't have time to think about nothing. So while I was on the plane, I text my wife because she always tell me she got bars, right? Molly, I said,
I love it. I love a good Perkism, especially from Mrs. Perkins.
Yeah, so I said, you got something. So I laid it out to a little bit, and I said, the Celtics laid down like what? Or I say, the Celtics rolled over like what? I say, the Celtics quit like what? She said, the Celtics rolled over like wheels on a bus go round and round. I said, nah, we can't do that. Well, God bless America.
You know what? She's around the kids. You can't blame her. She's around kids a lot.
She said that. And then she said the Celtics quit like they was in a UFC fight. I'm telling you, they tapped out. I was like, that's okay. I see you getting it better and you improving. Then she said the Celtics laid it down like a fresh set of dominoes. And as a country boy,
I like that one.
I had to say, you go, girl. You go, girl, because that's exactly what they did. Look at the Nuggets and their player movement and their ball movement and the way that they're handling the Lakers right now and how difficult every shot is for the Lakers. Look at the Heat. Look at the player movement. Look at the multiple actions. Look at Duncan Robinson setting back picks and then coming off a pin down off the opposite side. When you look at the Celtics, it's the same style. Here, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, go isolation. You can't do that against this Heat team. They're number one in the league in taking charges. And when you talk about boxes and elbows, it is zero driving gaps for those guys. So at some point, Mazulla, you have to help your superstars out and put them in position to be successful.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, Perk, is that I want to make sure you understand. I'm not disagreeing with those points. But we know they're young in age.
Right.
But Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been here before. It's like a fourth conference finals for Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown. I mean, what the hell is going on? You, Jaylen Brown, 2 of 20, from three-point range. I get what you're coming from, but you still had an opportunity to make some shots from threes, and you're shooting 2 for 20. I mean, there's just no way around this when you consider just the impotence of both of them in this particular equation. I can look at Spoelstra and his genius. I can look at Mazulla being exposed as a rookie coach, if that, a rec league coach. That's how he looks compared to Eric Spoelstra. No disrespect intended, but my God, the discrepancy is flagrant. You still can't get around the fact that Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown aren't doing anything close to what their capabilities are, what their resume tells us. And more importantly, it's one thing to lose. The Lakers lost. The Lakers lost to a better team. Boston has better talent. You got a guy like Gabe Vincent who's outscoring Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined. The brother's undrafted. He's outscoring them combined. On their worst day, we did not expect them to look this bad. And sometimes that ain't about coaching. That's about you. I'm not absolving Mazulla. I get it. But I'm saying at some point in the game of basketball, unlike football, offense, defense, special teams, and you're sitting there and there's so much you can do. You can't help it because you need so many other guys. In the sport of basketball, if 2 guys show up, Molly, if 2 guys show up, Perk, guess what? Even when you lose, even when you outclassed, it don't look like what we saw yesterday.
Yeah.
It don't look like last night.
Yeah.
Do you think the Celtics should fire Joe Mazulla if they get swept?
I'm going to give you a genuine, I don't know.
Okay.
Here's why. In all seriousness, I'm not scared to say if I think the man deserved to be fired, I think he deserves to be fired. I'm not ready to say that. I will tell you I'm tempted to go there when I see great players like Jayson Tatum, like Jaylen Brown, look so defeated minutes after getting their heart snatched out of their chest on national television. And I'm not talking about just them two. I'm talking about the Celtics collectively getting their heart snatched out of their chest. This team against these Miami Heat look devoid of character and toughness. Mm-hmm. And when you look at them right now, we can point to how they're 0-4 this postseason when shooting worse than 35% from three-point range. We can point to stuff like that. We can look at, last time, I'm just looking at some of these numbers here, Kendrick Perkins. They allowed the Heat to shoot 57% from the floor, including 54% from three-point range. We can point to all of that. And we can look at Joe Mazulla and some decisions not calling timeouts and all of this other stuff, some of the substitutions you brought up, how you started Derek White and put Robert Williams III coming off the bench, knowing what he means to this team. You can point to those things, and those are valid things because we know that's not a mistake Ime Udoka would have made, nor is it a mistake Brad Stevens would have made, even though Brad Stevens never took them to the finals. Hell, he took a younger version of these boys to Game 7, and only LeBron James took them out. And it took 7 games to do just that. So it doesn't look good for Mazulla. But this is a moment where I'm going to tell you that there is a word that comes to my mind, Molly and Perk, that I want everybody to embrace. Justice. This is justice for the Boston Celtics. I'm talking to Wick Krausbeck. I'm talking to Boston Celtics ownership. I feel very adamant about that. Ime Udoka's actions, his transgressions, are not something we need to revisit. He was wrong. If he had gotten fired, no problem. If he had been kept, no problem. But for this organization to handle that situation in the classless fashion that they did, as far as I'm concerned, having a press conference where you said nothing nor did anything but bring even more attention to Ime Udoka, all right, and his transgressions. I have said it countless times over these airwaves, and I'll repeat it one last time. All of us in this business know plenty of folks in the world of sports, for sports teams, that has stuff going on in the office. It was an HR matter. We know people who've been fired, Molly, and Perk knows I'm telling the truth, who've been fired for doing the same thing. We never heard a word. But now everybody know what Ime Udoka did because of the way the Boston Celtics handled it. And then we want to be sensitive, obviously, to the other party, as we should. But nobody thought about the lack of sensitivity to Nia Long.
Come on.
And what attention it brought to her, and how her name and her child were raked through the coals, put out on public display. They didn't think about that. They didn't care. And so for me, when I think about that and I think about what's happening now, maybe it's because you have the coach you shouldn't have. Because he should have been an assistant on the bench. Maybe even though he knows basketball backwards and forwards, and he can coach, all right, because he did have a good season. He wasn't a bad coach by any stretch of the imagination. But it's clear he wasn't Ime Udoka, all right? Mm-hmm. And so when maybe you're suffering when you're suffering. Remember, Jaylen Brown spoke out about it. But they were muzzled to some degree. Marcus Smart spoke out about it, but they were muzzled to some degree. Because not only did you make that decision about Ime Udoka, you insisted that the players not even comment about it nor speak to him.
Come on.
I mean, this is what they did. And so when you think about it from that perspective and you look at what's happening to the Boston Celtics right now, I'm sad for Jayson Tatum. I love Jayson Tatum. Love him to death. Jaylen Brown is that dude. It's a real brother right there. Got nothing but love for him. It's a bad time for him. It's a bad time for them. They don't look good right now based on their performance on the basketball court. Those are good brothers. Marcus Smart is a good brother. They got a whole Al Horford. They got a whole bunch of good brothers on the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics organization is a damn good organization. But leadership from the top in that particular issue, all right, stained this franchise. And as far as I'm concerned, it should for years to come. It is justice what is happening to them right now. That's right, I said it. And I mean every damn syllable that I uttered.
So, Stephen A., Man, you just spoke the gospel. When I think about Joe Mazzulla.
Hold it. Take your time. Get a little water. Take your time,
I'm
brother.
good.
Take your time.
No, I'm good.
No, you
When I
need
think
water.
No, I don't.
No, you do.
When I
You
think
do.
about Joe,
Just trust
listen,
me. I care
listen,
about you.
watch it come back. When I think about Joe Mazzulla, and I think about when they gave him the title, I said they should wait till the playoffs. I said they should wait till the playoffs to see what he's gonna do. Don't give him the head title just yet. Don't jump the gun just yet. They did it anyway. When they lost Damon Stoudemire, I said, don't do it. Don't do it. Trying to keep Damon Stoudemire for the rest of the season, because when you lose him, I think you're going to lose the connection that you had between Joe Mazzulla and the players. Now, here we are. So I think about the firing of Doc Rivers. I think about the firing of Budenholzer. And I think about the fire of Monty Williams and Nick Nurse. Okay? All of those coaches had excellent careers as coaches and did a hell of a job where they were. 2 of them won championships. What makes him any different? When you come down to thinking about who had the best roster in the NBA, it was the Boston Celtics. This is a team that went to the finals last year. This is a team that picked up Malcolm Brogdon, put him on the bench, convinced him to take the 6-man role. He won 6-man of the year, and you're on the verge of getting swept. Swept.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.